II actually wrote a reference in the book. He read our book and kind of read something about it, wrote something about it. And I didn't realize it until he pointed out to me that actually he had some similar words that I'm about to use now in the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. I didn't know about that at all, but it's interesting what I developed way back in, early 2000, this whole idea of attention, interest, desire, conviction, and close. So when you're in sales, as I've seen since I was 15 now, you've got to get people's attention. And, today I was able to do it with some red laces. That put one or two thoughts about me in your mind the first time you ever saw me. But I was able to take it and say, hey, listen, let's talk about integrity. Let's talk about what marketing ought to be. Let's not lie about things. In fact, I turned around and said, hey, you know what we ought to do is actually be truthful about what we're selling, who we're selling, what we're all about, and sell with integrity. I believe, if you're going to get people's attention, when you got their attention, you've got to generate interest. Then I think they're going to really be more interested in you as a person than I believe than you and what you're able to produce as a product. And I think that people are more interested today in you as a person and knowing that they can trust you. Robert talked about this early on in his presentation. He talked about trust. I really believe that if you're going to, when you're generating interest, you've got to establish trust in that relationship that you're communicating when it comes to sales. And so if you can generate trust and if you and get that involved in kind of into the fabric of the relationship, then at that point I think they've generated interest not so much in what your product is, they're generating interest in you. I think that's what I hope you're getting out of this, is that it's really all about you. It really is. Leadership is about you. Generating interest is about you. So you've got to generate the interest. They have to be interested in you or not. They are, they aren't. But if you can generate an interest in you as a person, and they like you, well, then you're going to start creating a desire, right? Which I think is the third step in sales. When you start to create a desire, you know what? They kind of like you. They kind of like what you're saying. They like what you're thinking about. I've had several folks come up to me during the breaks here, and they say, really like what you're saying. It's all about, you're speaking my heart. You're speaking, all of these wonderful comments, and I appreciate those comments. What it really is talking about creating, you generate an interest, you create a desire. In creating a desire, that's important. So you get their attention, generate interest, create a desire. And then, of course, the fourth is developing conviction. I think conviction is developed, in my view, in my sales. Conviction has been developed when people like your product. Now you're getting into your product. They like you, and they like your product, and they think that your product is actually going to help them. So at that point they're developing some sense of conviction. I can get deeper into this, but I won't. But I'll just say that I think the conviction part is often missed. People go from desire to trying to close the sale. They think that because they like you or they like your product that somehow they're going to sell, they're going to buy. Not necessarily true. And often, I'm sure you've had many sales where you thought they were sales and they weren't sales. And I believe that's because you didn't develop the conviction. The conviction is in them. That is, they have to be in their mind, have a sense, with a resolute sense, like the guy said to the guy, sit down. What he was basically saying was, I'm sold. Okay, sit down. I got a conviction now. And the guy said, no, I won't. He still was taking in control of that situation. But basically, he had established conviction. And that is what's often missed. The closing of the sale is, I believe, the easiest part. They just have to sign the contract. But you can't get to signing the contract if they don't have a conviction as to why they really think they should sign that contract. And just because they like you and just because they like your product doesn't necessarily mean they have a conviction about it. number one. Number two, it may be that you don't understand your product may be too expensive, or maybe there's something going on in their mind. Maybe they don't have the money for this right now. You know, I don't know if I can afford this, or maybe I don't know what to do. You know, hey, what do you charge, Dan and Robert, if you're going to come in and consult us and develop a marketing plan and coach our sales team? Well, if you want to know, take us out. We'll buy your lunch. I'll be glad to do that, and I'll be glad to have that discussion with you. But closing a sale is the easiest part of this entire process.